My name is Taylor. I'm here from Wayland High School, and I'm here to represent the Peach Foundation. This past summer, at the end of July, I traveled 6 hours across the globe to a city called Huizi. Now, I'm sure not many of you have heard it, but it is located in southwest China, right in Yunnan province. In a blown-up picture here, Huizi is 3 hours outside of Kunming along the border of Guizhou. My grandfather, he has worked with Peach for many years consecutively, and he actually recommended that my siblings and I go to the Peach Foundation. All I really knew what to expect from this trip. Honestly, expecting dirt roads and small houses made out of straw, I guess. But Huizi is actually a really developed city, and it has grown drastically over the past couple of years. What's even nicer is the high school that Peach Camp this year was held at. And this is when you can see that the school is huge, and the classrooms are really nice. So this is when I told myself, well, these kids may be poor, but they live in a pretty well-developed city, and they go to a really nice school. But it wasn't until the second day when we visited the homes of these kids. And if you go on the next slide, this is one of the homes that we visited, and I realized these kids don't live in the city. These kids don't go into school. These kids live 4 hours outside of the city. And the family that occupies this home, they farm potatoes, which is the least expensive crop. And because of this, they pressure their kids into dropping out of school. They represent the overwhelming majority of individual sustenance farmers, meaning that they farm the bare minimum for family survival. And because of their social status, they believe that they need their kids helping them on their farms, or they will suffer as a consequence. And they're just stuck in this cycle of poverty where kids drop out of school, they work on the farm, and when they have kids of their own, they only know how to farm. So they pressure their kids to drop out of school, and it repeats itself over and over again. On the contrary, I'm very fortunate to have grown up in Wayland, which is 2 towns over, where my family, teachers, friends, I am pressured to stay in school, to do well. While here, if you take your kid out of school, all of his or her peers, they think it's common. They say, oh yeah, I did that to my kid, or I dropped out of school, it's okay. And this is when I realized Peach, they raise money to pay for high school tuition for hundreds of kids every year, but their job is also to convince parents to have their kid to stay in school, to graduate high school, and to graduate college. I had another epiphany at one of the home visits where I realized that every kid, they grow up in such dangerous environments. Since they live 4 hours outside of a city, which the city is in the middle of nowhere basically, they are geographically isolated to law enforcement, to protection. And so I met this family where their family story goes a little like this. There's a family of 6, 4 children, mom and a dad. The wife kills her husband. Her brother-in-law, the husband's brother, kills her. The brother-in-law is imprisoned for life. And now the father of the 2 brothers, he takes custody of the 7 or 8 grandchildren who are left alone. And this is really just one of many untold stories, and it really hurts for me to hear. And it kind of shows how bad it can get out there and what these kids are living through. This is their childhood. But despite these struggles, I don't know how, but all 11 of my students managed to smile and laugh throughout the whole week. My job was to teach English to these kids, not to sit down one-on-one and talk about their struggles. Now at the time, honestly, I did want to sit down with them and see what they're going through. I really did. But looking back, I'm so glad that that wasn't my job, because honestly, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I ate lunches with my kids, and it wasn't until one lunch when I learned that my student, Wally, he had no idea of the age of his younger brother. He had no clue. And that was really hard for me to hear. It hurt me a lot too. And to say that's a simple statement compared to my mom killed my dad, I'm speechless. I'm honestly speechless, and I don't know how to respond to that. I built such an admiration for these kids. I care for these kids, I still do, because of their desire to get an education, their desire to learn, to get out of this hellhole, rather than caring out of pity. And this is my first year doing this program. Also, my Chinese is not very good, but Peach opened my eyes to so many things that I was blind from before. I'm thinking constantly about my students, praying for them every night, and it makes me so happy and so grateful that these donations are going to these kids to give them the opportunity that they never had. And I just want to thank you all, so thank you. Have a good night.